Whoops. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday. You know what that means. It's Whiskey Wednesday. Let's jump right into it and talk about what we're drinking today. So we are drinking Jim Beam, a Kentucky bourbon, or just a bourbon for that matter. We are switching up. Typically we drink Jack's on this show, this Tennessee whiskey, but this video is sponsored by Wise Haven Catering Events. We have my mother's 50th birthday party there. She turns 50 tomorrow, and she's helped me out with the camera and the time, so happy birthday to her. And we really didn't drink very much there, so we had some extra bourbon left over, so I got to take it home. So let's jump right into it. Cheers. All right, so today we're going to be talking about is the United States Constitution and kind of how we viewed it during our founding and how I view it today. So I'm going to start with a little anecdote. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was going on this vacation, and I was sitting on the plane, me and my brother, sitting next to each other, whipping out my pocket Constitution, kind of reading through it, and then I looked to my right. There's a bunch of girls over there giggling at me, looking at me, giggling at me. They had their phones out, either videoing or taking pictures of me. Kind of shrugged off, yeah, whatever. I don't. They're probably just making fun of me or whatever. Turns out those girls, they're on the same cruise ship that I was on. Not only that, they were in the room right next door to my brother and I. So we got to know these girls a little bit. We talked, got their contact information, and we got their names and stuff. So I looked up their one's Twitter, and sure enough, there I am on the plane. And there, of course, the guy next to me is reading his Constitution, LOL or whatever, 10 likes, 20 retweets. And I'm not nothing embarrassed about it because I'm, reading up on the Constitution. That's super important to our country. And it's something I always carry my pocket Constitution. I actually carry almost every single day of that cruise. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to talk about Article 1 and Article 2 of the Constitution. Article 1 is the legislature. This is our governing and kind of our legislating branch. This is the branch that, creates laws. They vote, on laws. They debate. They get political. That's where that happens. The executive, that's the branch that's kind of seen as the enforcer. They're the ones enforcing our laws. They're the ones, signing off to make sure they have, they give the authority for our laws, and also they hold a cabinet. They create an army. They oversee the Navy. That's their commander in chief there. So kind of during the founding of our country, we saw legislatures, they were the ones, the House of Representatives and they're the ones really making the laws. They were on the floor, they're chewing their tobacco, spin, they're arguing, they got hostile. There was multiple duels that broke out on the floor. They got stuff done. It was a really not hostile, but it was very active place. It's where the heart of everything was going on. The executive branch, there wasn't as much. There was the 22 agencies that we have today. There was really a couple main ones. We had the Department of War, Department of Treasury, Department of State, the Vice President. And, those are the ones that kind of enforcing all the rules and overseeing our standing army and stuff. Has really shifted this past century. Now we kind of see the executive role kind of expand now. So we see more and more agencies popping up. We see more and more, executive orders. We see more and more appointed positions. We see the Department of State, the DOD, the Department of Health and Human Services. They kind of are expanding. They're getting more and more employees. And it's not all some tyrant that's sitting behind a desk saying I want more power. It's not at all. It's a lot of it's the legislature, because we have a system of checks and balances. So the legislature, they're kind of pushing their power off onto the executive branch, because it's the way that the legislature is viewed now compared to how it used to be is it's now more of a a job. It's a career. That's back then it was a civil service. That's why I really wholeheartedly agreed with Representative Mike Jones's campaign return to citizen government. It wasn't career politicians around our country. It was doctors, it was lawyers, it was generals, it was farmers. They're the ones that are kind of running our country. That's why the legislative branch is so closely connected to people, because if we don't like what our senator or what our congressmen's doing. We can reelect them in 2 to 6 years. And you know, it's a continuous cycle, new ideas coming in. It wasn't meant to sit there for 20, 30, 40 years, which we see a lot of our politicians do. And I'm not saying this is every single politician. I know there are some politicians, or not, I can't call them politicians, but there are some elected officials who go in there and say, hey, 12 years and I'm out of here. Like, they set their own term limits, and we don't really see that as much any day. But you know, I know a close family friend, Congressman Platts, he set his own term limits and he abided by them. He could have been there for a lot longer if he wanted to, but he stepped out, and I highly respect that. That's the way that, you know, I think our founders kind of viewed it as more of a civil service. But yeah, so like now they're pushing all this onto the executive branch. We see a lot of executive orders, and you know, the power has been expanding since, you know, the early 1900s. You know, and it's continuing today, and it's not just one side. It's both sides. It's Republicans, it's Democrats. You know, in 2000, you know, with No Child Left Behind, that was a big executive push. Obamacare, another big executive push, and even now, like with immigration, that's another big executive push. And you know, the thing is, like, you can get stuff done. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like, executive orders, it's a change just like that. But the thing is, when the next, you know, executive comes in, they can change all that if they want to. There's no like law set in stone. You know, like if Congress passes a law, that's abided by, you know. And also, like, the executive, like, although the president's elected every 4 years, it's the people who serve underneath him. Like, you have appointed positions, like, you know, your cabinet positions, but like those people who are like in these agencies, a lot of them are appointed and they are not elected, and they are there for 10, 20, 30, 40 years through different policy and administrations, the Republican and Democrat. And those people aren't connected with the people. People who are connected to the people are supposed to be representatives, the ones who are there for 2, 4, 6, 8, however many years. They're the ones who are, you know, representing the people. And we need to kind of, you know, return to, like, you know, looking at, you know, the Article 1, or, you know, our legislature as the ones, the policymakers, and not necessarily like the executive. And I think, you know, both sides can genuinely agree on that. We don't want our country run by a tyrant. It needs to be ran by the people. And that's kind of like, you know, why I said, you know, we the people. And that's, you know, it's all established in Article 1. Where it's the people who are electing, and even people have say in laws and stuff, and they get a little bit of influence with referendums and everything. But we're gonna wrap this video up here. I want to try to keep it short and sweet. So again, thank you, Wise Haven. Again, I appreciate everyone's support. I've been getting a lot of good feedback. If you have any ideas, or you disagree with something I said in this video, drop a comment. I know everyone's not going to agree. That's why we live here in America. We can disagree, and we can hash things out. And of course, Facebook, they love doing that. So cheers. One last sip, and everyone have a great evening.